Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, and I think this is episode 24. I'm going to have to double check, but I think I'm right. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I don't really remember what I did, to be perfectly honest. Did some cooking, played some video games, watched The Breakfast Club for the first time. It was a great movie, actually. I really enjoyed it. There's so many different references from it over the years that I definitely was able to pick up, and that was fantastic. So I'm gonna hopefully keep it rolling with some classic movies that are on the list, and maybe we'll get into some drama or something a little bit more. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep it rolling and see how things go, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone else had a good time. I say relax. Not everyone's working, but if you are working your job throughout the week, it's still good to just kind of put your feet up and relax. I did actually on Friday. Now it's coming back to me now. I played some games with some friends for about 3 hours. We played some on Jackbox. It was a lot of fun. They have a bunch of different games to choose from, and I had a great time. And somehow went through like 3 bottles of wine. So here we are. Maybe that's why the rest of the weekend wasn't too productive. Actually, no, that's not true. I've been working on a project, just restoring an old bench I have. So I stripped it last weekend. That's how I threw my shoulder out. And I think I'm back to normal now, so I got some exercise in. But I did most of the staining until I ran out of stain, and I got one more part to do. So, of course, that's how it works out. But made another order to Home Depot for the curbside pickup. So I'll get that as soon as they give me a ring or send me an email confirmation, and finish that bad boy up. And of course, I'll be more than willing to show you my before and after photos of that. It's actually turning out pretty well, so I'm proud of it. So this week should be interesting. As you know, most weekends you get a lot more days of information traveling, and gives me a little bit more material to work on throughout the week. And the big thing over the weekend, of course, was the protests that are going on in the United States right now, and the fact that Florida and South Carolina, I think it's South Carolina, maybe it's North Carolina, I don't know, one of the Carolinas, they open up beaches on the weekend. And so the protests, unless you're living under a rock, you see what's going on. Just a lot of lovely ignorant people spouting off that they don't want their socialist freebies or handouts, and they want to go back to work, and this is about the freedom and all this bullshit. And it's just the memes keep piling up, and the stories. It's so funny because when you look at I don't like to generalize, but it's kind of hard not to. The same people that are complaining about people following rules, whether it's ICE or legislations, anything like that, or pro-life discussions, they're the first people to chime in. As soon as it reflects them or necessarily affects them, I should say, then they're all up in arms. And the ironic thing about it is it's not a socialist handout. It's literally the taxes you've paid to the government coming back to you in a time of need. So it is what it is. You know what? You know you're going to have this battle. Trump has been pushing for it. He's tweeting about it. He's creating this chaos right now, as far as I'm concerned. And it's sad because we know it's an election year. You know that he's pulling strings while this whole pandemic is happening, and I cannot wait for. Well, that's poor choice of words. I'm really looking forward to closer to election time in the United States to see what sort of bullshit Donald Trump tries to pull out of his pocket, who he's pointing the finger at, and the big thing right now is obviously pointing the finger at China. I've talked about this before. Now it's to be clear, it's not the Chinese people; it's the Republic of China, and they're not the only ones doing it right now. And there probably is a lot of corruption there. I wouldn't put it past a government that's super secretive about a lot of things to be corrupt. But it's not just the U.S. now; it's the U.K. putting pressure on them. It's France putting pressure on them. People have questions and they want answers, and rightfully so. If something originates from your country, other people that have been affected in a catastrophic way are gonna want some sort of answers, and I think there's a lot of pressure on them. So we'll see what happens, and we'll just have to see how this pans out. But what's bothering me right now is the fact that a lot of conservative Canadians are pointing their finger at the Trudeau government to do something. And what are you going to do right now? It's not a time to act against China. It's a time to figure your shit out domestically and take care of a situation, make sure everything goes as planned. And then when the dust settles, then you can maybe start pointing some fingers and asking questions. But realistically, in my opinion, and this is just me, you can call me an asshole or say you're a complete moron, you know what you're talking about all you want. But in my opinion, we have to deal with here right now, and it's leaders that are having issues with their followers or their country or people pointing the fingers at them, that they're deflecting this to China right now. That's a sign of weakness, in my opinion. It's like you're grasping at straws to appease people that are angry, and rightfully so. But in my opinion, the right answer is we don't have enough information about this, what's going on right now. We need to deal with the well-being of our own people in our own country, and then we'll start looking elsewhere. But let's deal with the here and now, the economic issues, the social issues, everything in between. Let's deal with that, and then we'll start asking questions out to other public figures or anything that we need to. But at the same time, it's like, we're Canadians. We have a vast amount of natural resources and things like that, and we're a big power in the world. But Canadians aren't known for putting pressures on other governments to deal with our situations or to get things the way we want them to be. That's number one. It's not the Canadian way. Number two, we don't have the power to do that. We live next door to the loudest, biggest neighbors you can think of. The people shooting off guns in the middle of the night or fireworks or whatever. Let them deal with it. Let France deal with it. Let the UK deal with it. And as far as I'm concerned, between the UK and the United States, two governments that are so divided by the people between left and right wing, of course they're going to point the finger somewhere. And let's be honest, the people in Canada that are pointing fingers are super conservative anyways. So was it really going to make a difference? And the thing that really gets me is I don't even know who the hell this guy is, because I don't follow Canadian politics that well, at least from not on the right or right wing side at least. Is this guy saying, when I'm prime minister, I'm going to point the finger or ask the questions to China and stuff like that, trying to bash Trudeau? It just looks like a complete dickhead. And the Conservative Party in Canada is just so bad at picking leaders to run their party that they just keep bringing in these weird individuals that have no charisma and don't understand the needs of people and are just trying to point fingers and rally up people that are like-minded. It's never going to happen in that way. So, I mean, even when you look at the Harper days, I would argue that the Harper days are kind of what we needed. They were coming out of recession, that sort of thing. In my opinion, the Liberals had really poor choices for their leadership. So it all kind of went down in flames for them. But, things... I don't think you can have one government forever. You have to change it up sometimes, and that's just how it is. We'll move forward, but let's figure out what's going on in the here and now, and focus on what's important. Okay. It's interesting, to say the least. Now, I've got a couple other things I did want to talk about, non-political, which is nice because everything seems to be so political or politicized these days. So I signed up I bought some sort of good online, and I got a beef with a lot of companies that are doing this. So I buy my product, it still hasn't even arrived to me. And in that window of, let's call it, 7 to 10 days, I've received like 30 different emails, like 30. And three to five of them were, how did we do? What do you mean, how did you do? First of all, figure out what I purchased. If I have to purchase more of that product in the same time window, well, number one, I've got a problem. Number two, I probably should have just ordered more to begin with, but they just bombard you with emails and emails. I'm just gonna unsubscribe, and maybe you should check your tracking before you ask someone how their order was. That makes sense. So, I mean, I see so many companies doing this. You really have to cut back on this. It's super annoying. You're not building a following this way. And it just shows me that everything's automated and you don't really care and you're just going overboard. It's so ridiculous. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that sees this sort of thing. It's just super, super annoying. So what I really need to do is take control of my my inbox and start. And I've been doing it periodically, but I've got probably several thousands of emails I need to go through on my personal account that just kind of gets out of control. I delete a lot of stuff, but I'm not doing the unsubscribing, and I need to do more of that and start filtering it. Maybe that's a project I gotta do over these times while we're in quarantine. Well, not quarantine, socially distancing. Something I definitely need to consider, because I need to get hashtag get control of your personal email, because it's getting out of hand, and there's so many companies that I don't even really talk to that are sending me daily, weekly emails that I have no interest in. So that's something I gotta work on personally. Yeah, I mean, as someone who works in customer success or front-facing roles, and I'm talking to clients a lot, and doing systems and processes and stuff like that, I can't help but criticize how bad some of these processes are. I just don't see the good of it. So that's just my opinion. That's just my rant. And it is what it is. On top of that, I did have some interesting conversations last week. Now, I'm not like a money guy. I don't really understand investments that much, or having a proper stock portfolio and all that sort of stuff. I have plenty of friends and family that are in finance, and I'm looking, and I can't be the only one thinking like, yeah, I'd like to invest in some stuff, but what do I do? One person says like oil and energy is the way to go. Another person says, no, don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's been going down and down for years, and it's not going to be needed in the future. But then there's some potential short-term gains, but is that going to work? And I just have more questions than answers. So I think what I've decided to do is take a portfolio of companies that I believe in, that I can't see being a huge gamble, and just diversify what I have right now. I haven't started doing that because I still got to go to the bank to get my card set up, which I haven't done, which maybe I'll do today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I need to get control of my own shit here, really. And so yeah, it's frustrating because I just assume, you talk to different people like, yeah, this is a lock, this is a sure bet, you can make 10 times your money back in a couple of years, maybe more. I don't know. I just don't trust anything, because even companies like Microsoft, for example, they're doing historically well right now, and but because they're a license-based company, you don't really even see what's going to happen in the future. So, for example, Microsoft goes off after a lot of bigger companies and sells licenses, and it's a per user license, right? It's not like I can buy Office Suite for my company and everyone gets to use it. No, it's so regulated now. And yes, they do their meetups and all that sort of stuff as far as teleconferencing software, which is great. It's very secure. But the problem is all these companies downsizing right now. They have to hold on to licenses. So let's just say you had to buy yearly licenses for all these packages. Then COVID-19 hits, And maybe 6 months from now, or periodically, they're going to see a dip because people had to lay people off and they had to hold on to licenses, didn't have a choice. Depending on what your agreement is, maybe it's month to month, maybe it's you paid yearly, quarterly. I imagine Microsoft isn't gonna have you on a month to month basis. I can't see that happening. But something to consider. I can see a big drop eventually, and then coming back up again. Yet to be determined. That's just an example, and I might not be 100% correct, but something to consider for sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, I still, don't 100% know what I want to do, but I've got a slight idea of the direction I'd like to go in. I'm not about to just gamble away money. I've done that before. It didn't really pan out. So maybe I'm preaching to the choir here. Maybe I just sound like an idiot and you're like, John, come talk to me. I'll give you the hot tips. But I think anything in the investment world is a gamble. You never know what's going to happen. People manipulate money all the time. Donald Trump can send a tweet, and all of a sudden your investments have gone up 30% somehow. We're down 50. So something to consider. I'm not going to be naive, and I just got to take control of it. I have to learn more about this sort of stuff, and that's something that I and my wife talked about, and we're keen on figuring out. So to be continued. Not that you're going to ever take any stock advice from me. That's I would not recommend it. But if you got any advice for me, let me know. Outside of that, today's 420. So all you dope smokers out there, I hope you're super motivated today and packed up your cupboard with lots of munchies and stuff. I mean, you can still get takeout if that's your thing. All the power to you. Just every time 420 comes by, I always remember a time where I was out in Vancouver. This was, I think, 2016, and maybe it was earlier. I can't remember. The years kind of just blend together. But yeah, I went there. It was prior to any legalization, and just kind of the things and the scenes I saw were just pretty shocking. I have some photos. They're really bizarre. Just people everywhere, vendors everywhere. I mean, there are regulations for this sort of stuff that has been loose for a long time. But it's just something I'll always remember how bizarre that was, and kind of cool at the same time. But don't go too overboard today. And if you do, well, yeah, stay the fuck home. All right, that's all for today. Remember to subscribe, and if you don't subscribe, I'll be very sad. All right, have a good one.